Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Bree. Today's reading vlog, we're going to be doing summer reads. So I usually do every year a summer reading recommendations, and this year I felt like I wanted to do a reading vlog instead of just sit down video because I kind of run through a lot of my recommendations. So now I'm going to read books to find recommendations and let you know if they are good for summer. So I have a list here that I'm going to choose from. And I won't read all of the books in this, but I'm hoping to get like 4 or 5 read in this reading vlog. So here are the options. To start, I have 2 that I have on Libby and 1 is on NetGalley. And the one on NetGalley is The Spell Shop by Sarah Bathurst. This comes out, I want to say, this month or in August. I'll put up the thing above. And it is a cozy fantasy romance. So we're following, I think, a young girl who goes to this town or this island, and then there's a romance there. I don't know too much about it, but I had it on my want to read and I saw it was on NetGalley for audio, so I requested it and I was accepted. So I think that is an option. And then I have Dragon Fruit, which is a Pacific Islander mythology YA fantasy that's following a young girl who I think is going back to her hometown and helping them find a dragon fruit. And that's all I really know, but I have seen the cover. 1, it's gorgeous, and 2, it just sounds like something I would really enjoy. So I have that as an option. And then we've got a couple of things here. So we have, I'll start with the horror options. For some reason in summer, horror is always kind of my go-to. I really want to pick up horror in the summer and fall. I think it's just because there's something spooky about reading by a campfire. Not that I've been doing that, but you know, that feeling in the summer really lends itself well to horror. So I have We Sold Our Souls by Grady Hendrix. This is like a demon, and I think again they sold their souls to become a famous rock band or something, and this just feels like summer because rock bands, you know, feels like summer. Then I have Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones. This is a short little novella that's like a slasher about one last summer and a prank that goes wrong. So I don't know too much about this, but it is set in summer and it's a slasher, so might give this a go, especially because it's a short one. Then I have Suburban Hell by Maureen Kilmer. I picked this up a couple of years ago, 2 years ago now. It's about a friendship group that there's a demon possessing one of their friends. It sounds like Grady Hendrix, the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. So I picked it up in hopes that it would give that same feel, which I thought was a good one for summer as well. And then lastly, I have Island Witch by Amanda Giattisa. This is a new release. It's like a historical fantasy horror, and it's about a young girl and something about a demon priest. That's all I really know, but I mean, Island Witch, island feels very summery, so I want to give this a go. I have really high hopes for this one, so I definitely will be probably getting to this one in this reading vlog. And then we have more cozier fantasy. So I have 3. I have Silver in the Wood by Emily Tesh. This is a short little novella that I think is like a fantasy romance about this guy who lives in the woods, and I know that there's dryads, so talking trees, magical trees, and I'm here for it. I've been wanting to read this for a while, so that's one I have for summer. Then I have Asiri and the Amaru by Natalia Hernandez. This is a cozy fantasy romance about a young girl, I think, who has to leave her town to go to a different town, she's running away, and she doesn't want anyone to know about her magical abilities, and I believe she can talk to animals, and then I think he's a person who a vet takes care of animals, and they're gonna have a romance. So this is an option as well. And then finally, The Undetectables by Courtney Smythe. This is a fantasy mystery urban fantasy. I think there's a ghost, a medium, and a forensic expert, but I just think something like this would be a perfect summery type story. I like fantasy and mystery mixes, and I think that they work really well for the summertime, so this is another option. So there you go. There are the book options. I will see you in a little bit when I have some thoughts on the first book for you. Good morning. I wanted to update because I made it yesterday to halfway through Island Witch, and I'm really enjoying it. It has this... Is that necessary? It has this writing quality to it that for some reason really reminds me of The Island of Dr. Moreau by Silvia Moreno Garcia. Maybe it's the audiobook, just the way it feels similar, even though the stories are completely different. And this, I think I thought was a thriller, but it reads to me more like a historical I wouldn't call it horror, like it's definitely inspired by folklore, and there is like maybe a historical thriller because there is like creepy things that are happening, but it doesn't necessarily feel to the horror level yet, and I don't know if it will. I don't know if it is horror or thriller. Her last book was a thriller, but it's set in 19th century Sri Lanka when the the British were occupying Sri Lanka and India. And we have a lot of people who are converting to like Catholicism and don't believe in the old ways as much. And our main character, her father is the Chapa, I think is how they pronounce it. And he's like a demon priest. So he like exorcises demons from people, and he like kind of helps with like bad omens in town and stuff. And there's been a string of killings that these men are being killed by something in the woods, and everyone kind of believes it's her father, and they're calling her a witch as well. So her and her family are being shut out from the rest of the town. They are really in financial struggles because no one wants to pay for their services anymore. And we're just watching our young girl as she is trying to understand the world, and she's having these creepy dreams. She's trying to understand like who's actually killing people because she wants to prove that her father isn't who everyone thinks he is, but she also is having creepy dreams and figuring some weird stuff out. And there was at the very beginning a prologue that is like from the perspective of the killer and killing these men in the woods. And then you go to our main character, why can't I remember her name? Amara. And she's just, yeah, she's very naive, but she's starting to like see, I think, the darker sides of the world. She's been kind of sheltered in her life, but now, and for a while, she's been kind of ostracized. So I think that's like culminating in a lot of things. So I'm really enjoying it. It's got like very lush writing without being overly flowery, and it's also just got a good character to follow. I think I enjoy her perspective. I do wish we had maybe like a little more characters because I do think I prefer following multiple points of view. But overall, like, this is really good. It's got a lot of like reveals, but I wouldn't say it feels like a thriller. To me, it feels more light than that, but still dark. I don't know how to describe it. Like, it doesn't necessarily feel thrillery. Like, I'm not on the edge of my seat, but it doesn't quite go to the horror. So maybe like historical mystery thriller. I don't know. I'll have to tell you by the end of the book how I feel. But I'm interested to figure out what's going on with the dreams. I like the inclusion of dreams in here and trying to like piece together what they are because they're confusing. Okay, well, they're starting something in front of me. So I'm going to go into work, and I will see you later when I've read more of this after work. Apologies if you hear the rain. It's really coming down up there. But I wanted to update because I finished Island Witch, and I have thoughts. I think I was struggling to figure out what genre this is, and I think that's really because it's, to me, more of a genre blend. It has elements of thriller where there's kind of a whodunit, like who is killing people in this community, but there's also a horror aspect to it, and then there's also like a folklory fantasy almost feel to it. So I think to pin down what it really is, it's kind of a mashup of a lot of things. Like it's also historical. I don't know if I said that with the historical fantasy part. So it's yeah, it's got a lot of elements, and overall I really liked it. I would definitely read more from this author. I know she has a thriller out called You're Invited, and then it looks like she has a different thriller, and I used to have it on my TBR, but I don't know where that went. But I don't love thrillers, so I was never really fully intrigued by that one, but this one I was intrigued by because of the almost horror elements and the witchy aspect, and I think it delivered on a lot of those things, and the atmosphere was really good. It is a foreboding atmosphere, but I will say she does give you a trigger warning kind of author's note in the front. Doesn't exactly say everything is in here, but it does say it's about female rage and that there is a lot of atrocities that happen, and it talks about like the colonization of Sri Lanka and how that has like led to a lot of issues, like clash in religious beliefs and violence against women, and how those are all kind of tied to colonialism. So I do feel like reading the author's note in front, one, it was informative from trigger warning side, but also just to get a general vibe of what this is going to be about. So it did get darker as the story progressed, and I think you could kind of tell a lot of what it was hinting at throughout, but the actual like twist, one of the actual twists at the end, I didn't really see coming, and Oh, it does say anti-colonial historical horror with the heart of a thriller. If I had read the back, I would have got there. But yeah, the overall twist and stuff is things I just struggle with reading. So it was a lot. It was a bit dark. But that being said, I think she did it really well. And it reminded me some ways of They Never Learn, but mixed with like Slewfoot, because both of those deal with female rage. It's like kind of a mashup of those two, in my opinion, somewhat. And we're basically following a main girl who's just so naive, and you just see her have to grow up in this society as a woman, and her family's struggling, and her family dynamic is like not the greatest as well, and she's just really struggling to like figure out herself and like the things she's going through. She's having a lot of like I said, weird dreams, and she doesn't really understand it, and she has no support system, and so she's really alone. And that I think was done really well. I think our main character, you really feel for her and connect with her, and the just vividness of the world of Sri Lanka in the 19th century, I think was really well done, and it's perfect for summer. If you're looking for a summer horror, this was set on an island. There's lots of like talks about the jungle, and she's in the jungle a lot, and the just whole atmosphere of it really lends itself to like a spookier summer horror, and I really would recommend it. I would give it 4 stars. I think it's just not a full 5, because I think that there are some aspects to the story that once you understand a bit more about the killings, I feel like it's easy to connect the dots, and so I wanted a little bit more of mysteriousness or like slow burn to it, I think. Isabel Cañas also blurbs this, and I do feel like that's a pretty good comp. Like if you liked The Hacienda or you liked Vampires of El Norte, this reminds me of it as well. Like I said, They Never Learn mixed with Slewfoot, but like give it Isabel Cañas vibes. I hope I'm getting you there if you have read any of those, if you understand. But yeah, I really liked it. I would definitely read more from her, especially if she came out with more like horror adjacent things like this. It was really good. 4 stars for me. Very great start to the summer reading vlog, and definitely a summer recommendation as well. So the next thing I'm going to pick up is The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. That's on audiobook, like I said, from NetGalley. So I'm going to listen to that next, because I just think something light to break up the horror is going to really work. So I'm going to start that tomorrow at work, and I'll let you know what I think once I get more into it. But I think a light, fluffy, little summery fantasy romance is going to be also the vibe. So I'll check back in later. I'm hoping I can read this when it's sunnier out and not so gloomy, but maybe the book will bring the sun, you know, when I don't have it. So yeah, I'll see you later when I have book updates for you. Good morning. Welcome back to the vlog. I am before work, so another car update, but I got to 50% of The Spell Shop last night, and I really enjoyed it. I'm gonna try to finish it today at work, and it's just a cute little cozy fantasy romance. I would say it reminds me of The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. That one. It has a similar vibe. There's maybe a little less of a found family at the moment, but I think it's really building to it. So we have a main character who she works in a library, and one day there's a fire, and so she saves as many books as she can, and she has this little plant companion who's a spider plant, but he can like talk and move around, and he's really cute. And sorry, I'm holding this so if it gets a little wobbly, and she flees with him and goes back to her home island that her parents were from before they moved to the city. And you kind of know that the like main conflict is the emperor's been killed, and there's been like a revolt, so the city knows that, but the island doesn't. And she goes back, and she goes to her old house because her parents never sold it, and she just tries to start to fix it up, and she decides to like start a little spell shop and fix like some trees and stuff on the island to like help make her jam and sell her little potions. But magic is like heavily controlled, so she's not like letting people know it's magic. She's just saying it's like old family heirlooms and stuff, or old family recipes and stuff. And then she's just meeting people in the village, and then there's a neighbor who knew her as a kid, and he like obviously likes her, but she's not picking up on it. And there's like myrrh horses and centaurs and like just a bunch of different things, like different races and stuff. And the myrrh horses are kind of like what they use. So apparently like the mermaids help them speak to like the myrrh horses, and so then now they use them as kind of like to help them fish and stuff. And they're very sweet and very cute, and she gets to like ride them because the main guy like herds them. I don't know if that's the correct saying, but he's very, like, seems to me very anxious, and like he doesn't really, like, he fumbles around, like he tries to say something, but she like doesn't pick up on what he's saying, or she takes it the wrong way, and you can just tell he's like a little bit anxious, but like also really likes her. Like, he's a very sweet character. I kind of wish we had gotten his perspective a little bit more, or at least I'm hoping we get more backstory into him, because right now we just know he kind of had shitty parents, but like not too much. But our main girl, her parents have passed away, and she is just like very much like, I can do everything on my own. I don't need anybody's help. I don't want to talk to other people. And so she's slowly learning that she does need people, and she does need others and community to thrive. And I gotta say, Kaz, which is the spider plant, is like the real MVP of the story. He's my favorite character. Every time he has screen time, I just love it. He's so like cute and anxious, and he thinks like everything's trying to eat him because he's a plant. And he's just like the best character and such a great addition to this book. So far I'm really, really loving it. I will finish it today and let you know final thoughts, but it's really a really cozy, fun romance. And I think if you liked the Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, or Legends and Lattes and stuff, I think it's really sweet like those. And I do think that it's like, so far, just cozy good time. And if you like those, I think you have a good chance of liking this one, The Spell Shop. So let me go inside and I'll finish it hopefully today, and then I'll give you a final update. But so far it's really, really cute. Good morning. It's Friday. I'm about to go to work, but I finished The Spell Shop last night, so I wanted to update you on it. So I think I'm going to go with 4 stars on this one. I really enjoyed it. I think it was sweet and fun, and it reminded me in a lot of ways of The Secret Society of Irregular Witches, though I do feel like maybe there was a bit more intensity, because there's more like, our main character's more fearful of getting caught and by the government and stuff, even though like she hasn't really done anything wrong. And I think that added like tension to the story a little bit, but overall, like, you kind of knew nothing bad was going to happen. I think the reason for me it's a 4-star and not a 5 is really the romance. I feel like it was kind of a half-baked romance. You didn't really get to know the love interest very well. Usually, like, when you get to know the backstory of the love interest and stuff, you get it through like interactions and them revealing stuff to each other and being vulnerable. And in this one, you like only really get his backstory because people in the town end up telling her, and then they never even like talk about it with each other or anything. And not that they had to, but it just made it so that like any like realizations she had about him like were done separately and from afar. And I just feel like it didn't really like connect them together. And I wish in like cozy fantasies and stuff, when there is romance, it's either like you go more into the romance, or you just scale it back and just go like full cozy fantasy. Because I feel like there's a lot of times this like middle ground where I feel like we didn't like spend enough time on the romance, but also my most interesting part was like the cozy fantasy side of things and less the romance. So it's like I almost wish it was not there at all, instead of this like kind of half in between. But there was so much I liked in this. There was so many like magical creatures, talking plants, like it was so cozy and a perfect like summer read because it's set on an island, and it's just like a fun cozy read. And I feel like if you liked cozy fantasy like Legends and Lattes, The Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and you're looking for something that has a little bit of romance, I think you should really try this one because it was really cute and I would recommend it. And I think that the romance might work for some people a little more than me, but I think that Sarah Beth Durst's like writing was really well done, very descriptive, and the setting and everything was just very well described, and I liked getting like the lore of the world. And if she made it more of a series where we follow different like love stories, I would like that too, because I would love to get more of the world. Sorry, my battery died, so I had to change it, but I think I was saying that I really loved the world and I would love to get more of it. And so that's another thing, is it read really quickly, and I wish just like I could have got a little more time with the world because it was so cute and so wholesome, and I liked all the different creatures, and like I would love to hear more of their backstories. So if she ever did like companion novels with like different people in the town, in the island, I think I would really enjoy that. So yeah, it was super cute. We had like anything like mermaids, unicorns, all kinds of creatures, and so it was really, really cozy, and I would highly recommend if you're looking for a new cozy book. This one was really good, and it comes out July 9th, so like really soon. I think by the time you see this, it might even be out. But yeah, So that was great to like transition from Island Witch to the Spell Shop because they were very different vibes.
Open air, side by side we sway there in all the colors. Summer love, lonesome dove, folded on the lawn chair in all the colors. Summer love. Remember when we were getting nowhere fast, when the garden won't stop giving back.
Well, I read Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones. It was 130 pages, so it wasn't too bad in terms of length. Definitely a good one to read over summer. Like, I think that this would have been a really good one if you were at a campsite camping and you just want something like spooky, because it's not over the top scary. So it wouldn't be like super scary to read in the woods, but it would be fun little campfire read, you know? And he really captures like the young teen voice of like a young teenager really well. I guess I should tell you what this is about. So we're following Sawyer, who is in a group of friends, and they're all like getting to the end of high school, and it's the last summer, big summer, that they decide to do a prank on one of their friends because she's working at a movie theater because of a different prank or different thing that they did. So they decide to take a mannequin that they had found a couple summers ago and take him to the movie theater and like scare her. But then Sawyer sees him get up and leave the mannequin, and it becomes a slasher after that and just like really devolves from there. But I would say my favorite preferred like horror genre isn't generally a slasher. I was never like really into slasher movies or things like that growing up, so it doesn't have that same nostalgia for me. But I did really enjoy this one. I think at the end of the day, I'd probably give it like a 3.5 because where it goes, I thought it was really interesting, and I just wanted to understand more. And I think at the end, I wanted more answers than we got. And I should have known because Stephen Graham Jones, like, doesn't tend to give like a ton of wrap up at the end. So, like, The Only Good Indians was a little vague at the end, but then also My Heart is a Chainsaw, which is a slasher as well. I think it wraps some things up more so than this one for me, but it still like left a lot of questions. Like, he tends to leave a lot of questions open, and we're not supposed to get all the answers. But in this case, I wanted to understand more what he was saying with it. I think it was fun. It was like a good thriller romp. Like, had a good time with it, and I would recommend it. Like I said, for a summer read, it was really good, especially if you're just wanting like a really quick horror to read this summer. Really good. But in terms of like all-time favorite horrors, it was a little lacking in the ending, but I flew through it and I was engaged the whole time. So that's why I'm sitting between like a 3.5 to a 4 star. It doesn't quite feel like a 4 for me, and I can't really tell you why. So that's why I'm kind of settling on a 3.5, because a 3 feels too low, you know? So that would mean 3.5, you know, right in the middle. But overall, yeah, glad I read it. Glad I gave it a try. I just think Stephen Graham Jones has been an author that like I haven't given more than 4 stars to, and I really always go into his books wanting a 5 star feeling from him, and I always end up with like a 3 to a 4 range. I guess maybe I just need to like be more realistic when I go into his books about them, and knowing that I'm probably going to give it a 4 star, and then maybe so if I lower my expectations, then I won't be like disappointed really. And understanding like his type of writing is just not my favorite horror type of story writing. So there's that. But I would recommend it, especially if you do like him. I think this one was a good one. So I will see you later when I have another book to talk to you about. Good morning. You're probably going to get a lot of car video from me because I'm now going to full time. So I'll be at work a lot. So I'll probably do more updates from the car. But I did want to say I got to 50% of dragon fruit, and I'm really enjoying it. It's a YA fantasy that's Pacific Island mythology inspired. We're following a young girl whose father stole a dragon fruit, which is an egg that a dragon leaves, and they're very rare. And if you take it and you like eat it or do something with it, then you can like heal or get like a boon essentially. And our main girl's father took one, and the ailing princess was like meeting them, and there were three, and he ended up stealing one. And for other reasons, I think the other ones got like hurt for a different reason. And so he is like really bad now in their society because he like stole it from the princess to give to his daughter, who was also sick with this like poison that they both got. And now we're following her like 10 years later or so, when she ends up coming back to the island because of different circumstances, and they're trying to track down this dragon fruit that she believes is out there to help the princess. And so it's also a romance between her and the prince, who they like were good friends when they were younger because she was at the castle and everything with him. It's very sweet so far. I think it's a really good summer book. It's like perfectly like islandy. There's a lot of water stuff. I'm really enjoying it. I got to the like 45-50% mark, and it's just a good like cozy story. It's not cozy, but because it's like YA to me, it's just feeling more like cozy and nostalgic. So it's really like what I'm needing between like horror and stuff and some darker things that I've been reading lately. So I'm really enjoying it, and I think it's great. And I haven't read anything with Pacific Island mythology, so it's like cool to get that background. And the dragon part is really interesting. And so far there's been like a good amount of dragon, though if you don't like animal harm, then you might not like this because they do like hunt the dragons and everything. But our main girl also like studies dragons, and she like really loves them. So I'm hoping by the end of the book people see that like dragons aren't their enemy or something. They're like sea dragons, by the way, not like in the air dragons, but water. And yeah, I'm really liking it. And I'm probably going to get mostly finished today, so I'll try to update you before I finish. But so far it's really good, and I'd highly recommend. Hello, I'm on my lunch break now at a little local park, but I'm really close to finishing Dragon Fruit. I am at 89%, so I'll probably finish that today, but I just want to update before I finish because I'm really liking this. So apologies if you hear big banging. There's construction happening behind me, which I did not plan for. But yeah, I really am liking this. I think that there's almost this cozy feel to it that I wasn't expecting, even though I don't think it is cozy. Like, there are darker things that are happening in terms of like, not darker, but like sadder things. I think it's got this adventure feel where you have a group of young characters, and I kind of feel like you kind of know that they'll be okay. Just from the way it's written, it feels like an adventure, almost folklore-y story. So it reminds me of like, something you would watch as a young kid. It's YA, and I would say it like feels perfectly YA, like not into the new adult, not too young, like middle grade, like perfectly YA. And so I'm really enjoying it. I think for me it's cozy. I don't know if for a young reader that it would feel as cozy because the stakes might feel higher, but for me it feels really cozy and just like a good time. It's like a perfect summer read too, because it's got all this water imagery, and I really like the sea dragons, and there's these like companions. So basically some people get a mark that they get like a companion that goes into the mark and comes out of the mark. So like the queen has a spider, and the Prince Sam, he has a bat, and they can like fight with them and for them. And so it's like a bit of like magic as well, and I really like that addition. I think especially the bat companion to Sam is just really cute, and I really like our main character Hanalei. Her and Sam really complement each other, and I like seeing her like come back and find family again after being gone for so long and kind of on her own for so long. And it's just a sweet story, and like there's just not a ton of conflict for it being an adventure, but it doesn't feel like it's supposed to have a ton of conflict. It feels like it's perfectly doing what it wants to do, and I'm really, really enjoying it. So I'm gonna finish it, and I'll let you know my final rating, but so far I'm really liking it. I'm gonna do this at a weird angle because if you don't know, if you can't see, we've got a giant crane happening over there, and they're outside. So I'm really trying to not make this obvious that I'm filming in my car. But I did finish Dragon Fruit, and I'm gonna go with 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I think it just wasn't giving me 5-star energy, but I did really like it, and it was really sweet. And there is like a romance, but I wouldn't like go in expecting like a romance, more like new adult or anything. Like it's very much just a sweet little romance, and nothing like really happens. It's just kind of like a very, very side plot with it, but it was very sweet. I don't know if it's going to be a series or not, but it kind of read like it was just a standalone. I'm very happy to have gotten to that because I just needed something like comforting, and that was very comforting. So I did start out I did start Suburban Hell, and I'm like 40% into it. It reads really quickly, and I don't think I'm liking it. And I'm really debating if I should DNF it. I think I might give it like a little bit of time at work to see if it was just like my mood or if I really just don't like it. I feel like it's supposed to be coming off funny, and I'm not really getting that. And I think I'm keep comparing it to the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Dragons, to slaying vampires by Grady Hendrix, because it has like similar vibes of like, you know, suburban moms like trying to figure out this bad entity. But this one just like is more boring, and I don't know, trying to be like funny and relatable, I guess, but it's just not hitting for me. So I just don't know if I want to continue. I think the only reason I'm like feeling like I should is because I bought this either full price or at half price, but like it's truly just like the guilt of having bought the book, and I need to get over that, I think. So I'll come back to you if I DNF'd and let you know if this is the end of the vlog or if I'm gonna finish it, but I'll probably see you at lunch when I've made a decision. Well, so I think last I checked in, I was talking about maybe DNFing Suburban Hell, and I did indeed DNF it. The thought of just continuing it was not exciting to me. I did not want to pick it up. It was kind of make me just not want to read at all. And that is always a sign to DNF. So I don't know. It wasn't like bad. There wasn't anything that I was like super annoyed about. It was just boring to me. Like there was nothing connecting me to the story. And I think that the women, especially the main character whose head we're in, I can't even remember her name. Liz, I want to say. No, that's not it. See, I don't even remember. She just like was supposed to, I think, be like really funny and have character and like have this like witty banter with friends, and I just like was not feeling it at all. I don't know if maybe it was the audiobook. There was just nothing here keeping me engaged with the story, and I also felt myself comparing it a lot to Grady Hendrix, the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. I just feel like that did it well for me, where there is like a scariness to it while also having good back and forth with friendships. Like the friendships felt real, where this just felt a little more caricature of it. And I just think it's supposed to be more of like a cozy horror, and I don't know if that was working for me in here. So I did DNF it. So that's 5 books completed plus 1 DNF. Island Witch, Night of the Mannequins, The Spell Shop, and Dragon Fruit all have good summer vibes. I think that those would be peak summer. I do think this one had summer vibes as well, though not as strong. So if this does interest you, I do feel like it is a good maybe summer horror, especially cozier horror. Maybe that's like good for the summer. So there you go. There are all the books I read for this reading vlog, and I hope you got some good summer recommendations for it. If you want to leave a sun emoji or like a beach emoji down below, love to have it if you made it to the end of the video. I just always appreciate you watching, and I hope that you got some good recommendations out of here. So thank you again for watching, and I will see you next time.